Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén bien. Hope you're doing very, very well. It's been a long, long time since I've recorded, rather, one of these Spanish lessons. So for anyone who is going through this course while I am making it, I apologize. I apologize that I haven't made anything in quite some time. Life is busy. I think everyone can probably relate to that, whether you're watching this in 2019, whether you're watching this in 2029, who knows whenever you're watching this, but life is busy, and I think that's something we can all relate to, especially because myself, I'm self-employed, which means that you always have different work things to be done. I think that's one of the differences about being self-employed in comparison to working at a job, for example. When you're self-employed, theoretically, if human beings did not need to sleep, you could work 24/7. There's always something you could be working on, and so I have a lot of things on my plate, and it's been it's been difficult to carve out the time to sit down and record one of these Spanish lessons. But we're here today. I'm excited about it, and let's dive right in. Today we're going to do something really, really special, a little bit different. So the biggest thing that's going to be different about today is I'm going to teach this lesson in as much Spanish as we can. So we've learned enough where I can actually start to teach a little bit in Spanish, and I think it'll work. It'll be really, really good practice. It'll be really, really good practice for everybody going through the course. So listen closely, use your ears, pause the video when need be. I will stop and explain certain things in English, and I will maybe teach bilingually in many ways, teach in some Spanish, some English. But get ready, there's a lot of Spanish coming your way in this lesson. Okay? So let's begin. Hoy vamos a aprender el presente en español. Don't worry, I'll go nice and slow. I'll write the things I say as well. Hoy vamos a aprender el presente en español. El presente en español. Hoy vamos a aprender el presente en español. So today we're going to learn the present tense rather in Spanish. So hoy vamos a aprender el presente en español. I recommend you guys, if you did not watch the last video on the future tense, I would recommend that you watch it. There's going to be some future. In fact, if you've missed any lessons, it might be a good idea for you to go back and watch some of them. If you go into the description of this video, there is a link which has all of those, which has a link to all the different videos, because we're going to be using a lot of Spanish that we've already covered off. Okay? So hoy vamos a aprender el presente en español. ¿Qué significa el presente? ¿Qué significa? What is it? What does present mean? Right? ¿Qué significa el presente? ¿Qué significa el presente? ¿Qué significa? ¿Qué significa el presente? ¿Qué significa means what does it mean? So what does the present mean? ¿Qué significa el presente? El presente significa cosas que pasan ahora. So present tense means things that are happening right now, things that are in the process that I'm doing right now. Por ejemplo, for example, ahora yo enseño. So for example, let's write that down. Por ejemplo, ahora yo enseño. Ahora yo enseño. So for example, I wish this was a little bit brighter so you could see it a bit more. That's okay. Por ejemplo, so for example, ahora means right now. I teach or I am teaching, right? Ahora yo enseño. That's something that's happening right now, okay? So when we conjugate the present tense, if you remember what a verb conjugation is, verb conjugations is when you change the spelling and pronunciation of a verb depending on when it is happening. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that is something we've covered off in this class, in this course here. So when we look at the present tense, la primera cosa, so the first thing es que is that in Spanish, en español, tenemos tres tipos de verbos. Tenemos tres tipos de verbos. What does that mean? Tenemos tres tipos de verbos. Tenemos, I'll write that full sentence. Tenemos tres tipos de verbos. Tenemos tres tipos de verbos. Tenemos, you won't know, but it means we have. Good Lord, that lighting is terrible today. There we go. We have three types of verbs. Tenemos tres tipos de verbos. Tenemos verbos en AR. Tenemos verbos en ER. Tenemos verbos en IR. So we have verbs in AR, ER, and IR. So what this means, lo que significa, I'm going to change some of this lighting that I have in the room. All right, maybe that'll make it better. So what this means is that if we look at Spanish verbs, all of them, 100% of them, will end in either AR, ER, or IR. So in fact, if you go into our Google Doc file, which is in the video description below, as it always is, if you go in the Google Doc file, you are going to see on page, I'll tell you what page it's on. It is on page at the bottom of page 19. You're going to see words and phrases learned in this lesson. And basically the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The first 10 of those phrases are verbs. They're different verbs. We have bailar, which is to dance. I'll write these on the blackboard so you can see them. Bailar, which is dance or to dance. We have hablar, which is to talk. We have, let's do comer, right? Comer, which is to eat, comer. We have vivir, which is to live, right? Bailar, hablar, comer, vivir. We have various verbs. All these are in the Google Doc, right? Oh, that lighting is a lot better. There we go. I'm glad I fixed it, right? So notice, what are the last two letters of bailar? A-R. What are the last two letters of hablar? A-R. What are the last two letters of comer? E-R. What are the last two letters of vivir? I-R. So every single verb, every single action word in Spanish will either end in an IR, an ER, or an AR. Those will always be the last two letters, okay? So let's look at some verbs that end in AR. Let's look at, for example, caminar. Caminar means to walk. In fact, I changed my mind. Let's look at trabajar. I can't spell today. Trabajar. To work. Okay. So here's our verb to work. Trabajar. Okay? Now, if I want to say I work, we would say yo trabajo. I work. Yo trabajo. Now, I put the yo in brackets. It's a concept we've covered off before. Anytime you want to say the word I in Spanish, it is optional. So if you want to say I work, you can say yo trabajo, or you could quite simply just say trabajo. Don't say the yo, but you say trabajo. Notice trabajo ends in an O. Okay, did you notice that? So when we want to take any verb that ends in an AR and you want to make it into an I form, right? So trabajar is to work, but if you want to say I work, you simply change this AR to an O. Let me show you another example so you can see what I mean. If I give you the verb walk, right? To walk. Caminar means to walk. Okay? Caminar is spelled like this, to walk. How do you say I walk? We would say yo camino. I walk. Camino. So notice again, we have the same thing that happened twice. This AR in trabajar changed to an O. This AR in caminar also transformed into an O. So any verb that ends in an AR, to make it into the I form in the present tense, it transforms to an O. Okay, so AR transforms into an O for the I form in the present. Okay, so AR transforms into an O. Let's get rid of some of that glare if we can. There we go. AR transforms into an O for the I form in the present. So yo camino, yo trabajo, yo whatever. Okay. So let's go back to the verb trabajar. In fact, let's change the verb. Let's do hablar. Hablar means to speak or to talk. Okay. So here's hablar, to talk or to speak. If I want to say I talk, what do we say? Yo, well, optional yo, rather. Oops. Yo. We get rid of this AR, right? This AR in hablar transforms into a O. Yo hablo. I talk or I speak. Yo hablo. Yo hablo. H's in silent. H's in Spanish are silent, so this H is not pronounced. It is not yo hablo. Let me cover it this way. It's like yo. Can we fix that glare? Can we make it a little brighter? There we go. Hablo. It's pronounced like hablo. Yo hablo. Yo hablo. Okay. What about you talk? Tú. Do we say tú hablo? No, we don't. We say tú hablas. You talk or speak. Okay. So we have tú hablas. So any verb that ends in an AR, in the tú form, that AR transforms into an AS. Tú hablas. Not tú hablar, not tú hablo, tú hablas. This would work for all verbs ending in AR. So if we look at trabajar, what is trabajar? We looked at it a moment ago. Trabajar is to work, right? So I work, right? How do we say I work? Yo trabajo with an O. Tú trabajas with an AS. Yo trabajo, tú trabajas. Right? Yo trabajo, I work. Tú trabajas, you work. Like that. So we're just looking at patterns here. In Spanish, you have to look at the final two letters of a verb. And based on that, you can almost follow like it's almost like a mathematical equation of like saying, okay, it ends in step 1. We know it ends in AR. Step 2, I want to say I, like I talk. So we know that the AR transforms to an O. Yo trabajo. Following? I hope so. If not, you know where to reach me at Polyglot Azren on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Just send me a message. I'm happy to help you problem solve it and work through it and help clarify how it works. So let's continue. Let's look at a different verb. Let's look at estudiar. You'll learn lots of verbs today. Estudiar. Estudiar es un verbo en AR. Significa to study. Estudiar significa to study. Miren, aquí. Estudiar significa to study. ¿Ok? Estudiar es un verbo en AR. Mira, AR. Es un verbo en AR. The last two letters are AR, right? Estudiar. Si yo quiero decir I study, ¿cómo lo digo? Yo estudio. Yo estudio. I study. O simplemente estudio. So you can say yo estudio or simply puedes decir estudio. Los dos significa I study. Both mean I study. How about you study? ¿Cómo se dice you study? Tú, optional tú, estudi ¿qué? Estudi what? What do we add after this? What letters do we add here for you study? If you think about the rules we just learned. For yo, we add an O. For tú, we add a AS. Tú estudias. You study. Now, granted, I understand that based on my teaching experience, there's probably 80, there's probably a, I don't know, 80. There's a good percentage of you that you're really understanding this, and there's another percentage of you that's already confused. Thinking, what the heck? How did he know that? Like, why do I add an AS? These grammar conjugation rules are a bit complicadas. They're a bit complicated, right? So if they are, I highly encourage you to message me. I can give you extra exercises, give you things to do to help you work on them, okay? So, tú estudias significa you study. This means you study. ¿Cómo se dice he or she studies? ¿Cómo se dice he or she studies? Él, ella estudia. He or she studies. Él, ella estudia. So basically, there's just certain patterns happening here, right? We're always changing this AR at the end, and we're transforming it into a different letter. So for all AR verbs for yo, the AR transforms to an O. For all AR verbs, all verbs ending with AR, in the tu form, it transforms to an AS. For an el form, it transforms into an A, estudia. Let's keep going down the list. We study. Nosotros estudiamos. So we study. Nosotros estudiamos. So we have this amos that gets that the AR from estudiar disappears. We're left with ESTUDI. You'll see that here. ESTUDI. And that AR from up here magically transforms into an AMOS. Estudiamos. Nosotros estudiamos. You guys study, as in like you plural. Ustedes estudian. Ustedes estudian. So again, we have so if we look at this verb, it's spelled ESTUDIAR, correct? AR. This AR, you'll notice down here, has disappeared, and it is transformed into an AN. And that means you all study. If you want to say they study, we say ellos or ellas estudian. Same, we have the exact same conjugation. They study. Ellos, ellas estudian. They study. Okay, oops, I'm covering it up. So it's the same as this ustedes. We have one more that we have to do. We learned, I believe, in the last lesson about the word usted, right? Usted, which means like a formal, more polite version of the word you. So as a refresher, in Spanish, they have two words for the word you, two words for it. They have one which is tú. Tú is like more informal, used with people you know, like your friends, family, or children, are the people you use tú with. And then, of course, usted is used for people that you don't know, and or people that you would like to show an extra level of respect towards, right? So strangers, people that are higher in social status than you, etc. So usted, which is the word I'll show you in a moment, is a more formal version of that, of tú. So we also have the last one, usted, a little bit dark. There we go. Usted estudia. This means the same as tú estudias, but this one is more formal. So again, we notice it ends in an A. Right there, estudia. Okay, let me write down a timestamp here. So we're at 24:42. Write down the timestamp in the note file. Intro and AR verbs. Okay. All righty. So let's do a little bit of practice with these verbs. Vamos a practicar un poco con estos verbos esos verbos en AR. So we're going to practice with some of these AR verbs. ¿Ya? Ok. ¿Cómo se dice en español? I eat lots of apples. De hecho, interesting fact, when I was younger, when I was in school, I actually did eat a lot of apples. Like I used to eat 3 apples every single day. Isn't that crazy? So how do we say I eat? There we go. I eat lots of apples. What do we say? Oh, no, sorry. Let's not do that. Not I eat. I apologize. Let's not do that one. Let's do I'm sorry. I got a much better one. How do you ask someone, where do you work? Where do you work? Where do you work? How do we say that? Okay. Feel free to hit pause and think about it. The word where in Spanish is donde. Okay, donde. How do we say you work? Where do you, we want to say donde, and now we just need the word you work. How do we say that? Well, we know the verb is trabajar, so we end up with trabajas. Donde trabajas? Donde trabajas? Where do you work? Let's break this down in case you're confused about how we got there. Trabajas comes from the verb trabajar, right? We saw this already. We saw that trabajar means to work, correct? This means to work. We saw earlier that for any verb in an AR, to make it into the tu form, the you form, the AR cancels out and it transforms into an AS. So that's what we ended up with here. Trabajas. Let's try another one, a similar one. Let's do you speak Spanish? Do you speak Spanish? Do you speak Spanish? Okay, so feel free to pause, try it on your own. The correct answer is ¿hablas español? ¿Hablas español? How do we get this? Well, let's break it down. Hablas comes from what verb? Comes from hablar. Hablar means to talk or to speak. To talk or to speak. Every time we want to make hablar into the you form, we take the AR in hablar, we cancel it out. Now it's gone. And we transform it into an AS. As so. So hablas is you talk or you speak. So you speak Spanish means do you speak Spanish? What about a similar one? What if I want to say, does he speak Spanish? Does he speak Spanish? Feel free to hit pause and think about it and try it on your own. Does he speak Spanish? Okay, what's the correct answer? I'll write it for you here. Habla español. Habla español. Right? Habla español. How did we get habla? Let's break it down. So we know habla comes from what verb? Habla comes from hablar. We saw this already, which means to talk or to speak. We already saw this earlier, right? Habla means to talk or to speak. If we want to make habla, if we want to make hablar into he talks or he speaks, we get rid of the AR, and the AR simply becomes an A. We saw this earlier. Habla español. So if you wanted to respond and say, yeah, he speaks Spanish, you would say, sí. Habla español. Sí. Habla español, down here at the bottom. Right? What about if you wanted to say something like, oopsies. I just lost the file I had in front of me. Okay. What if we wanted to say, my parents travel a lot. My parents. No, I'm going to change it. Let's say they travel a lot. They travel a lot. The verb for travel, here we go, they travel a lot. The verb for travel in Spanish, in case you don't know it, is viajar. Viajar. Viajar means to travel, like that. Okay? So, feel free to pause it, think about it. I'll write the correct answer here. You would say, oops. Optional ellos. You can say ellos if you want to. Viajan mucho. Viajan mucho. Ellos viajan mucho. Why do we have viajan? Well, let's look at it. Let's break this down. So viajan, as we know, comes from viajar, which means to travel. We already know this. Anytime we talk about ellos, the they form, this AR gets canceled out, right? And it transforms to an AN. Ellos viajan, like this. Okay? So we can almost actually make kind of like a nice chart. Some people actually like to see it this way, I find. So let me draw a nice chart for you. So if we make a nice table, you could even draw this in your file as well. So yo, oopsies. Yo, tú. If you're watching this recorded, feel free to fast forward 10, 20 seconds. Feel free to fast forward. Él, ella. If you want to skip me drawing this table out. Usted. Nosotros. Ustedes. And then, of course, ellos and ellas. Okay, let's make a table here. I could have used a ruler, I suppose. That's okay. My phone keeps buzzing like crazy. Okay, so we have, On one side, we have every single pronoun. I, you, he, she, you, but more formal, we, you all, and they. Okay. So for AR verbs, we have the following. So the final letters of every word are going to look like this. For A, and I should write this. These are for AR verbs only. So these are for AR verbs. Yo ends in O. Tú ends in AS. Él, ella ends in A. Usted ends in A. Nosotros ends in AMOS. Ustedes ends in AN. Ellos, ellas also ends in AN. So to show you an example, we've seen a bunch, but I'll give you some more. So for example, hablo, hablas, habla, habla, hablamos, hablan, hablan. Okay. Boy, my phone will not stop buzzing. So, hablo means I speak. Hablas, you speak, but informal. Habla, he or she speaks. Habla, you speak, number 2, but more formal. Hablamos, we speak. Hablan, you all speak. And hablan, they speak. Feel free to hit pause and write these down. This pattern applies to all verbs ending in AR. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Let me write the timestamp, 3733. 3733. Oopsies. 3733. AR verbs practice. Okay. Now, I mentioned in the beginning that all verbs in Spanish end in either AR, ER, or IR. I mentioned that there are 3 groups. So let me show you the table, the chart for ER and IR verbs. Okay. Again, if you're watching the recording, you are welcome to fast forward a good 20 seconds or so, 10, 20 seconds. So yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Almost done. Okay, here we go. So these are our ER verbs. So yo, all verbs ending in ER for yo will end in O. For tú will end in ES. For él, ella, end in E. Usted, they will end in E. Nosotros, they end in EMOS. Ustedes, they end in EN. Ellos, ellas, they end in EN. So if we look at an example, just such as the verb, let's do aprender. Aprender, which means to learn. Make a little circle around it or something. So this verb, for example, is aprender, which means to learn in the top section here. So I learn this ER. Let's make it a little bit brighter, more clear. There we go. This ER in aprender is going to transform into an O. So we're going to say aprendo. 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 I learn. Or no. Yes, I learn. Correct. I learn. Aprendo. What about you learn? Right? We're going to keep the stem, A-P-R-E-N-D. The ER disappears, and here we add an ES. Aprendes. Aprendes. You learn. For he and she, as well as this formal version of you, the ER disappears and becomes an E. So we have aprende. Aprende, right? For both of them. So yo aprendo, tú aprendes, él, ella aprende, usted aprende, nosotros aprendemos. So we learn, nosotros aprendemos. How do I make it more clear? There we go. You guys learn, or they learn, ustedes aprenden. Aprenden for both of them. Aprenden. Aprenden. The glare. There we go. Hopefully that's clear enough for you guys to see. Hopefully. Okay. These, I repeat, I need this to sink in because I say it often. It doesn't always sink in. It sinks in for like 75% of people, and 25% it doesn't fully sink in. Every single time you see a verb and the last two letters are ER, you must add these letters at the end. You must replace the ER with these letters here that I'm pointing at, depending on if you're using yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas. You have to. Otherwise, it is wrong. If I say tú, or I don't know, yo aprende, if I say yo up here, aprende, you sound silly. It sounds like if I said in English, I learns Spanish. I learns very fast. I is so smart. It just sounds so dumb. It doesn't sound very intelligent. Okay. Let's show you IR verbs. Now, IR verbs, I'm going to show you in a rapid way for people that get it quickly, and then I'll break it down in a more detailed way in a second. The good news about these IR verbs is that they follow, let's put an X through this here for now. Okay. Ignore this, this column that I put an X through. Ignore these. IR verbs follow almost the exact same endings. There's only one difference. The only difference is that nosotros becomes imos and not emos. This is IMOS and not EMOS. So let me show you what I mean. Let's make a third column here. So let's take a verb such as vivir. Vivir means to live. Right in the bottom corner here. Can you see it? There we go, to live, bottom corner, vivir. So we're going to follow almost the same rules as we did for these ER verbs. We're going to put an O for I. So yo vivo, I live. Yo vivo en Canadá. I live in Canada. Yo vivo. What happens to tú? Tú vives. Ella vive. Usted vive. Nosotros vivimos. Ustedes viven. Ellos viven. Let me write those out so you can see it. There we go. Vivo. Feel free to hit pause and look at this and kind of dissect it at your own speed. Vivo, vives, vive. I'll go in order here. Sorry, I'll point at them. Vivo, vive. So vivo, I live. Vives, you live, informal. Vive, he or she lives. Another vive, you live, but being more formal. Vivimos, we live. Viven, you all live. Viven, again, they live. And those are all of them. Nice. Let me add a timestamp, 47:20 or 16, 47:16. ER and IR verbs. Okay, added a timestamp into the timestamp section. I'm going to erase this, so if you want to take any more notes before I erase it, please do so now. Let's get some more light on there so you can see it. Hopefully that's enough light and you can see it clearly. It's kind of dark in this room, but anyway, it is what it is. Okay, it's disappeared. All gone. All right. So that is our present tense in Spanish. Okay, that's our present tense. Now, let's do a little bit of practice. I'm going to start speaking in Spanish and saying a few different things. And let's see if you can understand. Before we do that, I should mention one last... it's okay, we won't mention that. There's one more thing I can mention, but we'll stay away from that for now. We'll mention it another day. Okay? Entonces, hola. I'll do a self-introduction as I always do. It's always nice to get repetition. So, hola, me llamo Azren. Soy canadiense. Pero mi familia es de la India. Puedo hablar muchos idiomas. Hablo español, hablo francés, hablo inglés, hablo francés, hablo inglés, hablo español, hablo gujarati y hablo chino mandarín o chino. Aprender idiomas es una actividad que me gusta mucho. So let's rewind this whole thing. Okay. Hola, ¿cómo estás? I'm going to write this out in the Google Doc. So if you are watching this live, which we might have 1 or 2 people right now. So if you're in the Google Doc, if you're watching this live, please go to the Google Doc right now. If you're watching this recorded, also please go to the Google Doc right now. And you're going to want to go to the present tense in Spanish, which is on page, looks like page 21. Okay. So I said, hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Azren y soy canadiense. Mi familia es de la India. Oh, no, pero, I said, pero mi familia es de la India. So I said, hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Azren y soy canadiense, pero mi familia es de la India. Puedo hablar muchos idiomas. Hablo francés, inglés, español, gujarati, chino, y chino. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. So if you're looking in the Google Doc, you'll see all of this. So hola, ¿cómo estás? Hopefully we don't have to cover that too much again. Hi, how are you? Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Azren. So my name is Azren. Y soy canadiense. I'm Canadian. Pero mi familia es de la India. But my family is from India. I will point out we have the word es, es, right? That is a conjugation of ser, which means to be. So my family is from India. Puedo. We've seen puedo before. What is puedo? Puedo means I can, right? And if we see this is a great example. Puedo ends in the letter O, so we know that it is an I form of a verb. Puedo hablar muchos idiomas. I can speak many languages. So idiomas means languages. Hablo francés, inglés, español, gujarati, y chino. So I speak French, Spanish, English, Gujarati, and Chinese. More specifically, Mandarin. Okay. Let's keep this going. Oh, there's one more line. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. I'll say it again. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. So to learn languages or learning languages es algo, is something que me gusta mucho, that I like a lot. So I'll say that whole short couple of sentences once more. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Azren y soy canadiense, pero mi familia es de la India. Puedo hablar muchos idiomas. Hablo francés, inglés, español, gujarati y chino. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. I'll say it at a slower speed so you can hear it you can hear perhaps each individual word and each sound. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Azren y soy canadiense, pero mi familia es de la India. Puedo hablar muchos idiomas. Hablo francés, inglés, español, gujarati y chino. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. Let's keep this going. Vivo en una ciudad que se llama... let's change that actually. Vivo en... Sí. Vivo en Calgary. Calgary es una ciudad en Canadá. So let me write that out. Vivo en Calgary. Calgary es una ciudad en Canadá. So I live in Calgary, right? I live in Calgary. Calgary is a city in Canada. So vivo en Calgary. Calgary es una ciudad en Canadá. There's a new word in here, I believe, una ciudad, in the second sentence, which means a city. So I live in Calgary. Calgary is a city in Canada. Okay. Vivo en Calgary. Calgary es una ciudad en Canadá. Me gusta mucho vivir en Calgary. So what did I say there? Me gusta mucho vivir en Calgary. I really like to live in Calgary. I really, really do. I like living in the city quite a bit. También trabajo en Calgary. También trabajo en Calgary. So I also work in Calgary, right? También means also. Trabajo means I work. En means in. And then Calgary is Calgary. Soy profesor. Soy profesor. So I'm a teacher. Enseño inglés, español y francés. So, enseño inglés, español y francés. So, enseño means I teach. It comes from the verb enseñar, which means to teach. So I teach English, Spanish, and French. I'll keep going. Hay algunos. Wait, let's make it a little bit simpler. Let's try and use mostly words that you know. Hay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. Hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. Hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. I typed it out so you guys can see it. The only word you may or may not know already is the first word, which is hay. Hay means there is or there are. So hay 5 personas. There are 5 people. Que means that. Que trabajan conmigo. There are 5 people that work with me. Notice the spelling of trabajan, Trabajan. Why did we say trabajan? In fact, if everybody stops looking at the Google Doc and comes back to the main YouTube screen here, I'm going to write something on the blackboard. We know that trabajar is to work, right? Trabajar is to work. We know this. Our trabajar transformed into trabajan, right? And trabajan is something we use for they work, right? Or you all work. They or you all. Or you all work, right? So in the sentence that I said, which was, I'll write that sentence on the blackboard. Hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. Right? If we look at this sentence here, there are 5 people that work with me. The 5 personas, right, basically quantifies, becomes like a they. This is kind of like a they because we have more than one. It's like a plural, right? It's kind of like it's plural, which is why we use this trabajan. Does that make sense? If not, again, just ask me questions. I really excel in helping people one-on-one and like really helping with your questions one-on-one. I really excel in that respect. So hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. So let's go back to the Google Doc here. Let's look at that last sentence that we just covered. Hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. There are 5 people who work. Conmigo means like with me. 5 people that work with me. Ellos son profesores. So ellos son profesores. They are teachers, right? Ellos son profesores. Y enseñan idiomas también. Enseñan idiomas también. So they teach languages too. Excelente. Let me say that whole thing again. Try to understand without looking at the text that I wrote. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Azren y soy canadiense, pero mi familia es de la India. Puedo hablar muchos idiomas. Hablo francés, inglés, español, gujarati y chino. Aprender idiomas es algo que me gusta mucho. Vivo en Calgary. Calgary es una ciudad en Canadá. Me gusta mucho vivir en Calgary. También trabajo en Calgary. Soy profesor. Enseño inglés, español y francés. Hay 5 personas que trabajan conmigo. Ellos son profesores y enseñan idiomas también. Pretty good, right? Hopefully you guys can understand. Hopefully you guys are able to follow along that little listening comprehension exercise. Okay, so let me write a timestamp here. So this is now at exactly the 1 hour mark. Cool. So 47:16 to 1:00:00. Listening practice with present tense. Okay, muy bien. To finish this video off, I want to give you guys a couple of nice resources for Spanish. If you could even just look into the Google Doc right now, I'll just type them directly in there so you can follow along in the Google Doc instead of on the screen here. So you'll see there's a little, on page 22, there's a section that says some useful resources. The first one is a website called lingui.com. This is an excellent dictionary and translator. And the translator is actually better than Google Translate. It's more accurate. So anytime you're using a translator, if you have an internet connection, you should use lingui.com. You should use their translator. Because it's just better than Google Translate. It's a brand new, as I'm recording this, it's a brand new product and a brand new thing that they have. It wasn't something that they had before. It's brand new and it's really, really good. They also happen to have it for French. Another good resource is wordreference.com. It's another excellent dictionary. What I like about Word Reference is it has forums. So there's people who have actually asked specific questions, and you can look up certain words in context. So if you look up a word like get in English, you're like, how do you say get in Spanish? Well, the word get has many different connotations. I could say get lost, like get lost, man. I could also, which means like go away. I could say get in the sense of, oh, I got a car for Christmas. Like I received a car. I could say get, like, who knows? Get confused, right? You can get confused, which is a completely different. So get has many meanings. So you'll often see in Word Reference, they'll give you lots of listings for different contexts of the word get. But if one of the listings doesn't match what you're looking for, in the bottom part of the website, you'll see other people who have asked specific questions about how to use the word get. 9 times on 10, the thing that you're trying to figure out has already been asked by somebody else, and you can click into a forum post and get the answer to your question. Lingui.com, so the very first resources I gave you, doesn't have a forum section, but it will show you words in context. So if you look at the bottom of lingui.com, you'll see lots of example sentences taken from real websites on how certain words are used. Another resource I want to give you here is, it's called Extra Spanish. It's a YouTube show for Spanish learners. It's really, really good. It's an awesome, it's kind of cheesy, but it's pretty good. I like it a lot. I had one more in my mind that I was going to share with you, and I don't remember what it was anymore, which is a shame. Shoot, I had one more that I was going to say. Okay, it is what it is. We'll just give you three useful resources. Okay. And yeah, we'll finish this video off here. Let me just write the final timestamp. So useful resources and homework. So I'll give you guys some homework here. So as per always, review and reread the things that we've already learned. We'll start with that. Okay. Review. Oh, I remember the resource I was going to give you. Review the homework, the notes, and reread them. Okay. I'm sorry, if everybody could go back to the useful resources section. In fact, for people watching the recorded version, you're already going to see the resource I forgot. So you'll see me go back to it, and it's already written in there. SpanishDict.com. This website has really, really good resources for every single grammatical point imaginable. Yeah, so it's very, very good resources. And it also has a quiz. It has quizzes for each grammar point. So it's really, really useful. And in fact, the homework, I'm going to type in a quiz for you guys to do. A quiz and a website that actually gives a couple more details about the present tense that I didn't cover, a couple details, and then has a quiz that you can do. So I highly recommend you guys do it. I pre-warn you that it is going to be a little bit difficult. And there's going to be a lot of vocabulary and a lot of stuff that you're not fully going to know, and it's going to be really difficult. And I pre-warn you right now, you are probably going to get some low scores on those tests. That's okay. It's totally fine. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you don't understand it. It just means that really all I'm trying to do with this homework is to give you extra exposure and extra practice. If you get more than 50%, I'll be like, you basically got 100% on these quizzes. It's really difficult. It's not an easy thing. Some of you might get higher marks because you're studying Spanish elsewhere, or this is a review for you, things like that. But if the only resource you've been using so far is these videos, you will struggle with the test, but I think it'll be an excellent practice, and I just don't want you to get too caught up in the mark that you get. Yeah, don't get too caught up in it. And lastly, you can do the test multiple times. What I mean by that is there's like a whole bank of like 200 questions or something like that. So you could do the test multiple times, and you'll get different questions each time. So I'm going to put a link in the Google Docs. You guys can access that quiz. Okay. Thank you guys. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Que tengan un buen día. So hope you have a good day, and we'll chat next time. See you. Bye.